Here we go, 1v1 on Minsk Pocket. This game is going to be Evil Tribble playing as Soviets in the north versus Jona99 playing as Osther in the south, and he's already picked elite troops. He's probably going to be playing the long game for the Tiger Race, and that is very possible on this map. In fact, we've seen it before. I had a great game of Run to the Sun versus Arc Cloud. That feels like it was forever ago at this point, but it was the exact same matchup. If Evil Tribble chooses Shock Rifle, it will be literally the exact same matchup, even the same base positions. But that wasn't even this patch, so maybe this patch will have shaken up that matchup a little bit. I guess we're gonna find out. Tiger Ace versus IS-2s. The Tiger Ace performs pretty well, but as we know with elite troops, it's critical that the Tiger Ace have the most dramatic impact it possibly can because of the huge economic drain that it imposes on your economy. And it's important with all tanks to have a dramatic impact as quickly as possible, because every tank has a certain window of opportunity where it's most effective. The Tiger Ace is like the most hugely exaggerated version of that in the game by a huge, just massive margin. If it doesn't destroy everything within the first few minutes, there's a pretty decent chance that the player who fields it will lose. Decent chance, not guaranteed. We're gonna see a light engagement happening already pretty early on over here on the left side. We do have a 3 conscript opening from Evil Tribble against a 3 grenadier opening from Jona. Conscripts tried to disengage from those conscripts a little late, and they will take pretty heavy losses. Pretty bad opening engagement for Evil Tribble there. These 2 squads of grenadiers will win against single squads of conscripts sent in to engage by themselves, so he needs to be careful about doing that. Does not have Molotov research yet. He has gone with a 4 conscript opening, actually. If he gets Molotovs next, he should have a pretty good mechanism with which to win these early engagements. But so far, the fact that he's engaging with 1 squad versus 2 squads is causing him to lose these early engagements. And the Osther there is going to be able to work his way up the left side, take that territory, maybe even take this fuel as a result. Although we do see 1 squad of conscripts making its way down the right, while pioneers are trying to take control of the strategic points over here in the southeast. But he actually skipped past this strategic point because he went for this one first instead, and the fact that Evil Tribble is now harassing that has cut him off from the resources he'd otherwise be pulling in over there on the right. So kind of a weird capping order for those Pios to go and skip past this. Clearly it's not working out in Jona's favor here. These grenadiers haven't even taken a loss yet. They're just killing conscripts left and right. Wow. These 2 squads have 12 kills. He just keeps on throwing these conscripts towards the 2 squads of grenadiers one at a time. It's not working very well. We will actually see Jona utilize troop training here. Vet 3 squad of grenadiers has been fielded, making its way up to the front lines. We'll continue to provide a decent amount of firepower against these conscripts, but finally Evil Tribble will field superior numbers and move into close range against those grenadiers, which is what you're supposed to do with conscripts against grenadiers, and win the engagement, forcing some grenadiers to retreat, although a spare squad of grens has been sent up the left side to take control of this strategic point. This one will probably be next. With a 5 grenadier opening, Jona does leave himself moderately vulnerable to an early vehicle from his opponent. Evil Tribble has 128 fuel in the bank and no tech structures yet. If he wants to go for a T-70, he could definitely punish his opponent's use of double troop training on 5 squads of grenadiers. Huge investment into these early infantry squads.
Tanks now have defensive smoke capabilities.
Stun grenade tossed by Jona, and it's quite clear that he's gone elite troops. So Evil Tribble should definitely know that there is a Tiger Ace on the way. Based on what he's seen so far, it'll be important that he reacts to that accordingly. Generally, when you see elite troops, the first thing you should try to do is overwhelm your opponent as quickly as possible and win with like a quick T-70 And if you fail to do that, then you need to just accept that a Tiger Ace will hit the field and prepare for it accordingly. Evil Tribble's at 2 command points now, and still no commander chosen. Shock Rifle would be a perfectly good commander choice, as I was talking about before, although shock rifles or shock troops don't perform that great on Minsk Pocket because it's such an open map, and he's clearly going to be up against large quantities of high-vet LMG Grenadiers. But I think that they would probably do just as well, if not better, than Guards. Guard motor coordination with the T-3485s would certainly offer him a pretty powerful tool with which to take on a Tiger Ace. Splitting his firepower between the 2 medium tanks rather than the 1 heavy would make him less vulnerable to the Tiger Ace's target weak point ability. And then Shock Motor would give him access to shock troops in the ISU 152, and the ISU performs really well on this map, but it's also a little bit vulnerable to the Tiger Ace target weak point ability, and it really comes down to how you can support it with other anti-tank weaponry.
Our lines of supply are disrupted.
So far, though, engagements are not going well for these conscripts. The fact that the Soviet player is already kind of engaging sub-optimally at long range with inferior numbers is making it very difficult for him to take on these Grenadiers, which have Vet 3 bonuses. None of them have actually even been upgraded with G43s or LMGs yet, because he doesn't really feel the need, I think. Evil Tribble is just engaging so poorly. He's fielding himself a Maxim to try to turn these engagements back in his favor a little bit. He's completely lost all map control. Oh. Thanks, What Dog Life. I guess. I don't know, dude. Should I take that as a compliment? Romeo, your casts are usually really lacking in detail. But this one's pretty good. Mine's going down here by the fuel, and the Maxim has made its way back towards the front line.
Well done, comrades. The point is ours.
You guys are too kind. You're far too kind. I'm getting all choked up. I can't focus on the game.
Yes, comrade. Okay, that's the last one.
Maxim has moved up to fire on these Grenadiers, but being a Vet 3 LMG squad and they have rifle grenades, it's already going pretty poorly for the Maxim here. But it does manage to suppress the lone Grenadier squad, and with conscript support it will be forced to retreat. If nothing else, he did force the expenditure of quite a decent amount of munitions during that engagement. But that Maxim will already be forced to retreat, and it's just more manpower bleed for the Soviet player, who's already kind of behind, and the investment into troop training by these Grenadier squads is clearly paying off, and Jonah is just spamming Grens to the absolute max. He's literally made nothing else, just Grenadiers. Well, okay, to be fair, he spent 200 on Battle Phase 1 and he purchased a bunker in the base. So he has spent manpower on things other than Grenadiers, but not very many things. Pretty decent mine there by the Soviet player. Takes out 3 out of those 4 Grens. There's another mine right there. Could wipe that. Oh my god. That was so close. Ooh, kind of a narrow dodge right there. Takes out 2 of the 5 conscripts. They'll be forced to retreat, and the fuel is getting harassed again. Soviet player just cannot hold on to this territory. Second Maxim is being fielded to try to get a handle on this Gren spam. No, this is not a live game. I'm doing requests for the entire night, pretty much guaranteed. Snipers are a very manpower efficient counter to LMG spam, but it's micro intensive. You have to be careful. Once there's a certain amount of vet and LMGs, even the snipers can prove to be difficult to keep alive. You have to take advantage of their superior range, and if a decent sized Gren blob flanks your sniper or catches it in its retreat path, it's probably going to die. Especially if the player who catches you in the retreat path is really good at timing rifle grenades in your retreat path to wipe your snipers. That can be really brutal. But most players are not able to do that, partially because of the inconsistency in rifle grenade timing. Makes it very difficult to practice. You also don't know which squad member is going to fire the rifle grenade, making the distance also a variable you cannot really control unless it's a one-man grenadier squad. So that is extremely difficult to pull off. But I've seen squad wipes on retreat with rifle grenades before.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
Usually it's half skill and half luck, though. There's really no... I've never seen a player able to do that every single time.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector.
Soviet player moving Maxims down the center of the map will be able to get some territory back under control by the look of things, taking full advantage of the Maxims' long range, and these grenadiers will not be able to rifle grenade their way out of this situation. And engagement over here on the left side goes to the grenadiers here when they throw a stun grenade and force those conscripts to retreat, and we have a 4th LMG upgrade from Jona here as well. Evil Tribble doing the right thing, going with some core unit tech to try to punish his opponent's huge investment into tier 1 units, although he has got the tier 2 structure up now. Still no AT gun on the field, and it will be 320 more manpower for him to do that, and he'll only have 1, leaving... Wait, this isn't tier 3, this is tier 4. So... yeah, Katyusha would still be a good call. I think a T-70 would be better against massive Gren spam, but that's just my... this is just my opinion. If your opponent's blobbing particularly hard, like Jona clearly is, Katyusha's probably better, honestly. Actually, I mean, 6 vetted squads of Grens, even taking out one of these, a full squad wipe. Not only is he losing the 240 manpower for the squad, plus however much he spent on reinforcing it, he also loses the 80 and 25 fuel for utilizing troop training on it. So, against this sheer quantity of Grenadiers, I could see why Katyusha might be a more appealing choice. And I guess it comes down to map control. Since it's already 14 minutes into the game, it might be a little bit late to go for the T-70. Katyusha is more of a mid/late game choice, makes a little bit more sense. Still no commander selection from Evil Tribble. Has 125 fuel in the bank right now. Once he purchases his tier 4 unit, whatever it might be, probably the Katyusha, he's not going to have that much fuel in the bank, so it's going to be very important to maintain control of this fuel point, and of course any harassment he can do right here will be well worth it. Sends his 2 Maxims to do some counter harassment over here, and 2 of these 3 squads of Grenadiers will be forced to retreat, in addition to 1 up here on the strategic point as well. So getting those 3 Grenadier squads off the field, making them retreat all the way back to base, is definitely going to help him win engagements here on his half of the map, while he waits for his tier 4 unit to complete. Jona's actually going with 2 scout cars right now, which I find a little strange. And Evil Tribble's not going with the Katyusha, but with the Su-85. So he's going to preemptively counter his opponent's vehicles. In fact, he might even be just assuming the Tiger Ace at this point is gonna hit the field. He's clearly failed to overwhelm his opponent early, so that shock troop, or that Tiger Ace is definitely going to happen. If he wants to stop it, having an Su-85 on the field, or 2 actually, is gonna be important, obviously. So he's just gonna start stockpiling that anti-tank firepower now. But by making that investment this early, only 8 command points into the game, he does leave himself with not that many effective counters to this Grenadier spam. Fortunately, it will still be useful fighting these 2 scout cars that Jona fielded for whatever reason. I think he's a little bit frustrated by his inability to break through these 2 Maxims, and so he wants these scout cars as a tool with which to flank around behind those machine guns, get those cleared out. But he does know that there's quite a few Soviet mines protecting those Maxim's flanks, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful about how aggressively he uses those scout cars If he passes in an unfortunate manner, a pretty decent chance that they're just going to explode to those Soviet mines. Plus, he doesn't realize this, but there is an Su-85 on the field protecting those Maxim's flanks. He was not ready for that. Su-85 misses its second shot, and the scout car is going to get to safety, or not. Rather than reversing to safety, he tried to do a heel face turn there. Didn't work. Looks like a squad of conscripts is going to get wiped because it's not being monitored. That scout car could go down here. There it goes. Really long shot by the Su-85, and both scout cars are going to be destroyed. So that investment into those two scout cars will prove to be a disaster. And the Su-85 is actually working out quite well so far. Kind of blind countered what his opponent was doing. But I mean, your opponent's gonna make vehicles at some point. It's not like an Su-85 is guaranteed to be a bad decision. Actually, to be fair, against close air support, that's not true. But clearly, we're looking at elite troops here, so since the Tiger Ace is on the way, Su-85 makes sense at some point. He just happens to be lucky that some scout cars also hit the field, and he was able to clean those up as well. The only targets left for the Su-85 now are these caches, which he would kind of have to overextend his Su-85 to destroy, but at the same time there's nothing defending that area of the map at all. And if he can field some cheap units to try and get some territory back under his control over there on the right side, he'll be poised to make a bit of a comeback here. That being said, pretty big victory point deficit right now. He's 130-ish points behind. He needs to get that clock stopped. You really don't want to be behind in VPs against elite troops. But we will see shock troops fielded. He has chosen shock rifle, and I assume as soon as he has the fuel for that IS-2 heavy tank, he's going to bring that onto the field. Since it looks like it's going to be coming in within the next 8 minutes or so, it should get here before the Tiger Ace, if not at roughly the same time. Shock troops catch a grenadier squad and it's not being monitored. Oh, that was a late retreat. I think he could have wiped that if he chased, maybe, I don't know. He could have at least gotten one more model. Nothing in the grenadiers' retreat path, unfortunately, over here on the left side, so they will get to safety. A couple G43s thrown on this squad, LMGs on all the rest. Pretty healthy amount of veterancy. 3 out of 6 grenadier squads are at vet 3, the rest are well on their way, which is going to make these Maxims struggle to engage them. They really need screening troops in the front quite badly. We do have one squad of grenadiers screening, but these grenadiers seem to be perfectly capable of just walking right up and laser beaming those machine guns down, because there's just not enough screening troops in the front. Incendiary artillery dropped on the grenadiers over here will force them to reposition but not retreat, and this squad of conscripts will try to reman that Maxim and apply some further pressure to those grens, try and get them to retreat, but the screening troops are falling very low and the rifle grenade will seal the deal.
The enemy is taking our territory.
Wow, is that really going to survive? That was a miracle escape by that lone Maxim crew member. Shock troops are being utilized to backcap, which is a little bit inefficient. Kind of reduces their shock value because their window of opportunity is closing. His opponent is aware that shock troops are on the field and will begin to field appropriate counters. That being said, he's already got 6 vetted grenadier squads with long-range weaponry on Minsk Pocket, so those shock troops are going to have to be quite careful about how they engage. In fact, by catching one lone squad over here on the left side, utilizing the squad for counter-harassment to minimize losses and maximize time on the field and effectiveness, maybe this is the best thing to do. Utilizing them to harass means his opponent has to commit at least 2 squads to get rid of them over there on the left side. And as for right now, it doesn't look like he's going to commit anything. And he's just thrown a machine gun bunker up here in the center, which when your opponent has an Su-85 makes no sense at all. unless you can effectively screen it. He does have 2 AT guns slightly behind it, so he could probably push an Su-85 away. But I feel like that's not likely to really survive for long. But I guess we'll see. Maxim's getting laser beamed to death by 3 grenadiers. After having inflicted little to no damage, he will be forced to retreat. Doesn't make it. Shock troops force a retreat from a grenadier squad on the left side. Pretty good value from that squad there. And a squad of combat engineers has been fielded over here to the victory point. This would definitely be a good opportunity to throw a demo charge on that VP and try and take out one of these Gren squads. Bit of a flank here. Shock troops try and close the distance with conscript support, but without Molotovs, I don't think there's any real hope of winning this engagement. He's going to need those grenadiers to hit a mine or something. And we're actually not going to see the IS-2 as the second fuel purchase. He couldn't resist the temptation of fielding that Katyusha. Not sure if I blame him, though. Yeah, I'd say it was a pretty good return on investment so far. Pretty good. First barrage. He caught them really clumped in at short range, and the spread of the rockets was just miraculous. If only he had thrown a demo charge over here. If he had put a demo charge on that VP in addition to that Katyusha barrage, boom, instant comeback. Still, that's a big win. He's got forces making their way out of the Soviet base back towards the center now. And as predicted, Su-85 needs very little time to just move up and kill this thing. One more shot should probably seal the deal. Packs are trying to move up to screen. And the Su-85 is forced to back off. Panzerfaust will damage its engine, has to pull back to safety away from those AT guns. Incendiary artillery should successfully screen them back behind the safety of that bunker, if they survive, which it looks like they will. Only 1 flame crit there. Or 2. And with slightly wounded crews, those packs will move back. And this probably would have been a decent time to try to move that Su-85 up and finish off the bunker. Because the bunker is still standing, those packs are going to get away. If he had made a combined push with the Su-85 to destroy this and then oorah'd up with conscripts, there's a decent chance he could have stolen one of those. Or maybe destroyed them with the pack, or with the Su-85. But at the same time, only 1 more volley from being destroyed probably made the most sense to just pull that back and play it safe. Didn't want to gamble with that Su-85 since he's going to need it later when the Tiger Ace hits the field. And it's going to be here soon. Only 1/4 of a command point away. 400 manpower left to collect, so about 2 minutes. When that Tiger Ace gets here, it's going to be pretty difficult to deal with, but there is a small amount of mines on the field in Su-85, so Evil Tribble is at least slightly prepared for it. Shock troops force a retreat on the left and start taking this munitions back under their control. And Grenadiers over here on the right side are halting repairs on that Su-85, which I think he wants to destroy the bunker with, but he just can't safely get it in range. Doesn't know where those AT guns are. Looks like he's a little bit ambivalent. Not sure what he wants to do. Decides to disengage for now. The Katyusha, however, is able to barrage once again. If it wanted to destroy that bunker, I'm sure it could. 1 barrage would definitely finish that thing off. But I think... Nope, he's firing. Okay. Oh, the barrage fell a little short, though. I might still get the job done. Nope. Aimed it a little too far forward and the bunker will survive. I think he was trying to catch that squad of Grens. 2 squads of Grenadiers being dedicated to the left side to force away these shock troops. Grenade gets tossed, but it will be dodged. When there's only 1 engagement happening on the field at a time, throwing grenades generally not going to pay off. Highly unlikely that your opponent will not be paying attention. So in that situation, it makes most sense to just toss a smoke grenade, try and close the gap, and burst one of the squads into retreating at close range before retreating yourself, or just retreat immediately if you don't want to take the manpower bleed. Oster player has gone tier 4 and fielded a Panther, which is pretty typical. Well, not typical, but we see that. with Tiger Ace. Tier 4 into the Tiger Ace. Because the Tiger Ace costs no fuel, you can support that Tiger Ace with a Panther, and that's a very scary and powerful combination. And he's had excellent map control. This game still has 200 fuel in the bank even after purchasing this Panther, so no difficulty there. Evil Tribble, having purchased 2 tier 4 units, is very behind on fuel as far as heavy tank production, and is only going to be able to afford his first IS-2 at around the 28-minute mark, or 27-minute mark, which is quite late for your first IS-2 to be hitting the field and to have no fuel reserves after purchasing it. He's going to have one IS-2 and an Su-85 with which to combat a Panther and a Tiger Ace, so he'll largely be at a disadvantage and be relying on mines to help turn the engagement in his favor, and I think he would definitely benefit from throwing a field gun on the field. Katyusha bombards the bunker again, but it's been fully repaired. And his map control is looking better on the right side, but he's sort of losing the left. Stun grenade goes out on that shock troop squad. Pretty good placement. Counter grenade goes off as well, though, and will force a retreat from the squad and actually wipes it. Nice grenade placement. He got a lucky burst from his SMGs there during that as well. Pretty big victory to take out that vetted Gren squad. There are now only 3 veteran squads of Grenadiers left on the field. And he's forced to retreat from one of the squads over here on the right as well. If he can win this engagement, which he has, he will secure the right side victory point and slow his own victory point bleed. He still has quite a deficit, though. Jona about 150 points ahead of him. So it's going to be important that he try to maintain control of the left side. His shock troops have met an excellent harassment squad over here on the left, but at half health, if his opponent dedicates 2 squads of Grenadiers to counter again, which he probably will, they will be forced to retreat. There's the IS-2 finally rumbling onto the field. So it has arrived before the Tiger Ace. And I'm not entirely confident that Jona intends to get the Tiger Ace next. He's spending a lot of manpower on Grenadier reinforcement, so he's not going to have the 800 manpower he needs in a particularly reasonable amount of time. If he decides to go for a second Panther first, it's going to be a very long time before that Tiger Ace arrives, but it'll have an incredibly powerful armored composition with 2 Panthers and a Tiger Ace. So he's going to have to think about exactly what he wants to do there, and he may not have the pop cap for that either. He might have to sacrifice some Grenadiers or something to make that work as well. Let's see, Tiger Ace is 26 and Panther is 16, so combined they're 42. So yeah, he doesn't have nearly the pop cap to afford that, so he's probably just going to go straight to the Tiger Ace from this point. That would probably be the logical thing to do. Maybe field an extra squad of Pyos first or something. And the rest of his fuel is just gonna go to waste, I guess. I don't know what he would spend that on. Still good to have a fuel reserve, because if the Tiger Ace dies, you want to be able to continue Panther production, since that will then be your only tool with which to fight the IS-2s. Shock troops encounter some Grenadiers here on the left side. I'm not sure they're being monitored. There they go. They can't win this engagement without tossing a grenade. There it goes. They are clumped. No reaction, and the squad is wiped. Nice pickup by those Grenadiers. Meanwhile, the Panther is making a suicidal maneuver over here, trying to take on an Su-85 and IS-2 by itself. This tiny little tree clump apparently blocked this anti-tank gun's vision, and I don't know what it is doing. It just went way too deep and died. And this one is similarly overextended. The bunker's been destroyed by Evil Tribble's tanks, and that Panther is now in significant danger. This blob of infantry will have no problem overwhelming this anti-tank gun and destroying it as well. Meanwhile, in the back, though, this Grenadier squad caught the Katyusha out of position. He does notice in time and will reposition it to safety before those Grenadiers get off the potentially lethal Panzerfaust. IS-2 will give up the chase against that Panther, taking a Panzerfaust as it retreats, but the Panzerfaust will bounce off the IS-2's frontal armor. Meanwhile, the squad of Grenadiers here on the flank will get shepherded back to the Osterre base by this Maximin conscript squad. This anti-tank gun has been cleared, and the Panther has actually moved to re-engage, taking heavy damage from the Su-85 and IS-2. If he loses this Panther before fielding his Tiger Ace, he'll be way behind. Definitely does not want that to happen, but it just did. Panther goes down to the Su-85 shot from behind. Way too aggressive with that Panther initially, and then he foolishly re-engaged into a situation he was unlikely to emerge victorious from. And suddenly, Jona has no units left. He had a really powerful composition just moments ago, and now he's been reduced to only 3 squads of Grenadiers and his squad of Pyos due to terrible usage of his anti-tank guns and way over-aggressive maneuver by his Panther. In fact, his Panther's own smoke, I think, is the reason this anti-tank gun died. So that engagement definitely could have gone better for Jona, and he will now be completely relying on this new Panther and presumably his Tiger Ace. If that ever hits the field, he's spending so much manpower, I don't even know. Anti-tank gun has been destroyed by the IS-2 here, and it's actually got really low health. Katyusha barrage firing on what the tiny blob that remains. Oh my god! Oh no, that was just mean. He absolutely needs this IS-2 to die, and even if that happens, I don't know if there's any hope. Wow. All shots on the frontal armor of that Panther penetrated. It is probably because of the close range. And there is only 1 Grenadier left in the entire Osterre army. I would say that's the game, and Jona agrees with me. He has surrendered. Tiger Ace did not hit the field. We just saw core Osterre tier 4 this game, in addition to monstrous Grenadier spam. Really didn't look too good for the Soviet there in the beginning. His engagements against those Grenadiers with his conscripts were just terrible, and he never purchased Molotovs. When you open with 4 conscripts, you must purchase Molotovs. This is really a requirement, or you will stand no chance in infantry engagements, especially on Minsk Pocket. Well, he did get field infirmary though, so that's something, but you've really got to throw those Molotovs on the field. Other than that though, good game. We saw some brutal Katyusha barrages. Really nasty. Allies win.